there's a few ways to tell if your EXP has been repainted. These cars are all old enough, they're all coming up on 40 years old real soon here. And you know, odds are is the one you have has probably been repainted unless you have a crazy nice original car. Some of the late 80s cars are still untouched, but most of these older first gens have been repainted at some point. Especially since most of them have continued living on in North Carolina, where the sun beats the crap out of the paint, but luckily they don't rust down there. So what happens is the paint just deteriorates, and then owner wants to make it fresh again. But one of the issues I've had with most of mine is they've been repainted from accidents. Like this car, you can see that all this is Bondo repair that's separating because they didn't prep the surface underneath it worth a darn. No one ever does, I guess. So water gets in there, or just general condensation, dampness, whatever, gets in there, rusts the metal, and then the Bondo outside it cracks and chibbles off, explodes. Whenever you see Bondo, it's the car must have been painted over at least once. And there's a few different ways to tell, some easy ways to tell. Like I said, if yours is old and has some is showing its age in the body department, you'll start seeing Bondo here and there from a previous repair. Must have been touched up, repainted, whatever. But you can usually tell what your car was just by opening the door jamb. I'm sure you thought that this was a black car until I showed you the Bondo. Then you were curious what color it was. It was actually silver over black for an 82. Fairly common color. I've seen a couple of them this year. Opening the door jamb will get you pretty far. Close that back up. You can also see paint chips. If it's an older car, you'll see the new paint trying to come away from the old. This one was prepped pretty good. Apparently not so good around the hatch and the trim, but otherwise it was done all right. Aside from crappy Bondo, of course, because usually what eats the repaint, eats away the paint that's been repainted on there, is the sun, time, snow. Like this is a Minnesota car, so it's been baking in the sun all summer, and then come winter it just gets full of snow until it slides off, wears away the paint, whatever. I think the hood's been replaced. Pop it open. It ought to be silver underneath. But is it? No, not really. There's primer underneath it. You can see that the hinges are silver. The engine bay is nice and silver, albeit dirty, but silver. One of the best telltales, the best telltale, is this build tag. This is an 82, so on 82s and 83s they put in a build tags. Sometimes they call them buck tags, but they put these guys in there. It's all the info on your car. It covers all the options. You see this one says MT for manual transmission, SC for speed control, that's your cruise. High output, that's a misnomer. HO, because half my 82 say it, but they're not high output motors. M2, 2 mirrors, PS power steering. And then down below in the bottom line, that's where you get your color scheme. So down there, 1G I believe is silver. So there will always be, your your main color to the left, and then your possible two-tone next to it. If you have an XX next to that, no two-tone. If you can see this one has 1A next to it, that means it's a black bottom. It should be like that on almost every car. Just know that the location of that tag is different depending on the model year and the plant it came from. Like on my turbo, it was far down there. Weird, and now I'm not seeing it. Oh, it's because it's on the right. Sorry. So on my 84 turbo, it's in the similar place, but on the right. It still has all the same info on it. It'll say 2 mirrors. It'll have the black paint code, which I think is still 1A, but I don't think it's been repainted. It was just really rusty. This blue car has not been repainted yet. Still wears its original blue. Nose cones go to hell as they sit out. These guys almost always fade before the rest of the car. It's just what happens. I think it's in the way that the cones absorb the paint initially from the factory. After I clear coat mine, it's a direct match. These two other cars, they've been repainted as well. You can see this one's got some primer touch up to it in the rear. Obviously doors don't match. But another big telltale is masking. Masking is everything when figuring out what color your EXP was, or at least figuring out if it's been repainted or not. You can see a pour mask job will always show through. You can see this one was originally green. And it's a bummer it's still not, because that green is just gorgeous. But I will have a bright green EXP. And then you're probably thinking that this car was originally this dark metallic red. No, it never was as pretty as it is. It was actually bright red with a black lower. I can show you here simply again by opening the door. It did a good job by masking and painting the entire door jambs, but they didn't remove the door stripping, the door gasket. They just masked over it. So you can see that it was originally red over black, and then they repainted it the optional dark metallic red. So EXPs did come in this color for 82, but you had to pay extra for it. But it was originally just the plain red with a black bottom, which is a neat pair. Onto this guy. This one's been repainted. It was originally baby blue, just like a couple of my other EXPs. But this one, I had no idea. I didn't know, aside from the color being terribly off, that this one is blue, yes, but it lacks the definition and the metallic flake that blue one has down there. You know, this one looks much more like a pastel. But it became obvious when you come underneath, and the chin spoiler is the same color as the rest of the car. Chin spoiler is supposed to be a flat or satin black. Whenever it's not, the car has been repainted. Same thing with the black wraparound bumpers. If they're not satin or flat black, they've been repainted. Like my EXP convertible, they spray painted the entire car. I say spray painted. They painted the entire car black. It was fair quality auto paint, but they painted the wraparound bumpers too, those same gloss black. They even painted all the trim gloss black. All this trim is always supposed to be satin or flat black. For 82 and 83, these pillars are supposed to be flat black. But in the later years, You could option these out to be painted the same color or not. Your call. But if these are flat black, more than likely it's original. If they're the same body as the car, might be original, might not be. All the mirrors came standard as flat black, but you could pay extra from the factory to have them the same color as the body. So if they're flat black, it's probably original. If they're body match, they might be original. But the gasket on these is always a great telltale. That gasket should be black and no other color. Doesn't matter what color the mirror is. That rubber, soft rubber gasket should be black. Same with the window trim around here. The sill trim, as I call it, should be flat black. They turn into like a clear coated aluminum. I think that's how they come from the factory, and then when they get processed, they just shoot them a flat black before they go onto cars. I'm not sure why. Maybe the early GTs were supposed to have stainless trim like that. I don't know. All the troughs and the trim, the water guttering around the windows should all be flat black. This B pillar piece should be flat black. Look for any masking lines around the corner windows. No one ever removes these because they're a pain. So mega telltale right there. You see a little bit of blue or red or black on these, has definitely been repainted. Same thing goes with all the lights. If you see different colors on the lights, but my blue 82 that I'd been restoring, it had some blue overspray on the taillights, and it had some blue overspray on the front turn markers. And you can see this guy, the paint is actually peeling off, and that's not something I've seen on any factory EXP paint. So I presume something happened to this guy. They did a little bit of filler and then painted back over it. Windshield wipers, they should be flat black. The squirters should be flat black, and it should have a plastic texture. They don't paint these from the factory. So if yours looks glossy or too good to be true, it definitely is. But masking around the lights is what I mentioned just a few seconds ago. Oftentimes everyone just masks these, when instead it's literally only 2 bolts to remove this lens, and there's only the 2 lenses, so it takes all of 5 to 10 minutes to just do the 2. But nope, we'll just mask over it. And they almost always leave behind paint, primer overspray. See, this one's got a little primer overspray on it. That's not too bad. Around the light buckets, typically there's a black border going all around the inside of the headlight bucket. But those might not always be there. Sometimes these little supports in the grill are black, sometimes they're still body match. LN7 should all have a black bucket, black headlight bucket on the inside. Take you over to, oh yeah, I think the nose cone for that one's inside my car. We go back over to the original car. Sorry, the original paint job car. You see they have a nice tight masking of black all the way around the light. And that doesn't really fade or go to hell or anything, because it can't. The sun doesn't ever see them. Rain doesn't really beat on them. And bugs don't really do any damage to them. Yeah, that's about all there is for them. You can also look for bad masking around the door handle. You'll see some really bad masking around the door handle. Never seen bad masking around the sunroofs yet. Antenna's a great telltale. Again, more masking. The base gasket should always be black. The top will either be chrome because the black is faded, or it'll still be black. And then, like I said, masking is a big deal with these guys. A lot of people mask over it. Don't do it worth a darn. And then when they paint the car, they leave strips of red or black or blue or whatever around it. Pinstriping's hard to tell. So this is either factory or dealer installed pinstriping that goes around the hood. Same thing on the front clip. It should look pretty uniform all the way down the car, but it's easily removed. Not all cars have them, so going off the pinstriping, it's hard to tell what your car should and shouldn't be. You can see this one. Remember I said it was repainted, but they redid the pinstriping, so I'm curious if they repainted it at the dealership under a repair or whatever, because it still has pinstriping. That's probably not what the car originally had on it, being it was silver. It's got it now. My turbo, it's got pinstriping like this, and I believe it to be original, but maybe I'm wrong. It doesn't come across in the camera all that well, but the top one is a red, and the bottom one's more of an orange, or vice versa. The bottom one is faded a lot more than the top for some reason. When you're buying a turbo, you should know that the bottom will always have a two-tone. If it doesn't have a two-tone, the car's been repainted. And they also have this two-color stripe here to differentiate that there is in fact a two-tone, or a difference between the two-tone lower section and the whole rest of the car. So it's usually black on top, red on bottom, all the way down. And if you get to the back, these should always say turbo. So we'll leave that at that for now. I think my next video will be on how to tell if your car is a turbo or not. So we'll leave it at that, and we'll see you guys later.